Right now, the polls greatly favor Joe Biden. Donald Trump is spiraling. He admits he's losing. The press is just hammering Trump down, saying the beginning of the end. The walls are closing in. We've heard it all before. We heard it in 2016. It wasn't true. And maybe it's not true now. You see, with all this negative press, unfortunately, the Democrats may have spun themselves into a trap for which they will not be able to escape. And we're hearing it now from the Cook Political Report. Will cancel culture stop Democratic momentum? They have just announced what may be Trump's ultimate weapon. You see, Donald Trump has talked about violence and statues. And they're saying basically, oh, that's wrong. Yes, Donald Trump can focus on these things, but the appropriate thing for Trump to do to win is to target cancel culture and say, they are going to take your job away. They are going to threaten your kids. They're going to claim that everything you do is bigoted. And that scares people. Because right now it's affecting liberal elites. Interestingly, just the other day, Andrew Sullivan and Barry Weiss, very high profile media personalities, I believe both based in New York, announced their resignations from the New York Mag for Sullivan and New York Times for Barry Weiss. This sent a ripple through the media ecosystem. Barry Weiss, New York Times, was supposed to be bringing, more voices to the table, but said the paper's become essentially illiberal. It no longer respects free speech. And this was devastating. Of course, the cancel culture proponent said there is no cancel culture and laughed. But real Americans are scared of this. And Cook points it out. But the story from Cook was written July 10th, before Barry Weiss's resignation sent shockwaves to the media landscape. They have outlined what may be Trump's greatest weapon. Talk about what scares Americans. That it's the left. In fact, it's many of these Democrat voters. You can talk about the far left and the violence and all that stuff and the vandalism, but talk about cancel culture because that really scares them. This is their weakness. Donald Trump can say to Joe Biden, the people who support you are trying to hurt these good people of this country. And what can Joe Biden say? I hereby condemn my own voter base. Bad news. Now, you may be saying, how prominent is this? This is Cook Political. This is one of the most important and prominent institutions in politics. I want to show you something. We'll read the story. Before we do, check out timcast.net. Give a shout out to myself. This is my main channel. A lot of people get confused when I mention I have another channel. This is the easiest way to break this down so you understand. Go to timcast.net, and that's my main channel. It's got more subscribers, but subscribe, and I put up videos there every day at 4 p.m. Just so you know, I'm trying to deal with the confusion here. Cook Partisan Voting Index from the Cook Political Report. When we talk about plus 13, plus 16 in a Democratic congressional race. I'm using New Jersey's 9th congressional district as an example. They say the Cook PVI has it at D plus 16, meaning it leans 16 points in favor of the Democratic Party. That's Cook. That's how important this is. And they're the ones saying, well, potentially, will cancel culture stop Democratic momentum? Heed these words, Trump supporters. That's the battlefront. That's what scares regular people. Getting canceled, because you will. Let's read. Amy Walter says, as we have seen over the past week, the president is eager to frame this election as a war over the symbols, monuments, and statues that celebrate America's historic figures. As a White House aide told the Wall Street Journal the other day, Trump's Mount Rushmore speech was a defense of America's integrity against those who seek to tear it down. Unity was the goal. Unity in preserving our heritage and learning from it. In the past, Trump has been able to stoke racial and cultural animus to his benefit. In 2016, he took, for example, Hillary Clinton's line about some Trump voters being deplorable to effectively cast himself as the champion for a beleaguered white middle class that has been shamed and denigrated by coastal elites, and that's still true. However, there are many reasons to believe this strategy won't work for him this time around. First, he is no longer the outsider, but is instead the president of the United States at a time of a public health crisis. A health crisis, by the way, that a majority of Americans think Trump is mishandling. In 2016, with the economy stable and life in a relatively normal place, it was easy to distract and engage voters with this stuff. Today, however, when 87% of Americans, according to the recent Pew poll, say they are disappointed in the direction of the country, it's hard to scare them into thinking that things will worsen if they vote for former Vice President Joe Biden in the fall. And Biden isn't making himself an easy target either. He was quick to denounce the defund police movement. He also came out in defense of preserving and protecting national monuments dedicated to the founding leaders like Jefferson and Washington. Bottom line is, it's hard to be an effective messenger when just 41% of Americans approve of the job you're doing as president, and just over a third think you're doing a good job handling racial issues. Even so, warns one GOP strategist I spoke with this week. There's real concern among suburban voters about where this so-called cancel culture, or what we called in the old world PCism, is headed. This strategist, who has been deeply involved in both quantitative and qualitative work with suburban voters across the country, acknowledged that these voters are not interested in preserving Confederate statues or flags. They are sympathetic to Black Lives Matter and supportive of the protests. But this person points out they are also wary of how far this reckoning will go. Over the last week or so, they've raised the question of where does it end? They cringe at reports of statues of Christopher Columbus being tossed into a lake and are upset to read of another public figure fired for a controversial Facebook post that they put up years ago. However, the challenge for Trump in being able to exploit these concerns is that these voters are mostly done with him and think that he makes everything worse. As a messenger, the person said Trump has zero credibility with these suburbanites. In the era of Trump, Democrats have become more and more reliant on suburban voters. But as one Democratic strategist wondered aloud the other day, are Democrats simply renting them until Trump is no longer in office? This GOP strategist argues that one way to lose them is to assume they want to move as far on social, racial, and cultural reckoning as many within the Democratic Party and or the left would like to go. And this worry of an overcorrection of Trumpism isn't happening only in suburban living rooms and kitchens. Earlier this week, more than 150 prominent artists, they signed what we know as the Harper's letter. This is liberal elites waking up to the fact that you are in the firing line. And now they're getting scared. Those words are from me, by the way. I'm not reading anymore. Yeah, they're getting terrified. The woke outrage is coming for you next. And guess what? Joe Biden will not stop it. Cook can say what they want, but I'll give you my opinion. Let me read you their bottom line. While Trump is a flawed messenger, it doesn't mean that this issue of censoriousness, cancel culture, is irrelevant. Instead, expect to see discussions about it play a significant and potentially starring role in the 2020 campaign, especially if Democrats take full control of the federal government. Yes, that's right. If Democrats win this November across the board, cancel culture will reach a critical mass. You will see liberals panicking as the far left gains more ground. Why? Joe Biden is trying to wield the one ring. That's the analogy I will use. It's a hill I will die on. I will keep using it. I love it. You see, Democrats have found an opportunity to crush their opponents, the Republicans, get them banned from the internet. So they took the one ring thinking they could wield its power, but they could not. And the far left is now gaining hold. As they wear that ring, it slowly seeps into their arm and starts taking over the body that is the Democratic Party. But they need the power. They can't stop Trump. They must ban his most ardent supporters. It's working for now. But now it's gotten too close to their heart, and liberal elites are getting worried. In fact, these liberal elites writing a letter are getting canceled themselves, panicking, and now they desperately want to take the ring off. Joe Biden says, no, we shouldn't tear down these statues, but it's not working. It's not enough. You've made your bed. And what's Biden to do now? Cast the ring off into the fires of Mordor? Maybe not. Maybe it's too late. Maybe now too much of the Democratic Party has absorbed this far left cancel culture mentality and socialist policy. They won't reject it. And Joe Biden's only opportunity now is to condemn and denounce his own voters. They're starting to get worried. Now, how many? I don't know. Perhaps he can stave off some of this. But I imagine what a debate would look like between Trump and Joe Biden. When Donald Trump looks to Biden and says, you have openly embraced the far left, your unity plan with Bernie Sanders, you are welcoming these fringe far leftists in. And they're targeting good people, taking their jobs and forcing them into submission, and people are scared. What's Joe Biden going to do? Well, I'll denounce all of it. I'll denounce that Bernie Sanders plan. I'll get rid of all of these people. He can't. The far left is a part of the Democratic Party now. They've adopted democratic socialism. Pulling the ring off, it's too late. Why? dare I say, they're becoming Nazgul. I don't know enough about Lord of the Rings to actually carry on with that analogy. I'm sorry, but you get the point. The infection is there. The far left is a part of this. Cancel culture freaks people out. Trump would be wise to weaponize that. That's what Cook is saying. And they're saying he will. There's a good reason to believe Trump will lose come November. And if you think he's got this one in the bag, you're wrong. I mean, the polls are really lopsided. If it's true what Cook is saying, that Trump is no longer seen as credible on these issues, then people may vote for Joe Biden. I wouldn't do it. That scares me. That really does. First of all, I'll cast everything aside and say it for the 50 billionth time. Joe Biden means more war in the Middle East. Mark my words. You vote for this man and he will send our troops to war. Is that what you want? Apparently, I've learned the hard way that liberals in this country never actually cared about those issues. Because if you did, your only option right now, I guess, is Donald Trump. But for me, cancel culture is a problem. And Joe Biden does not deserve to win when he's welcoming the far left into the Democratic Party. And these people are extremists who would tear down statues of our greatest heroes and try and get people fired. No, I'm sorry. Joe Biden is too close to the razor's edge. You vote for Joe Biden, you are voting to stand on a platform of only 3 inches, looking down from 100 stories high, hoping and crossing your fingers that you don't fall. But you can very easily fall because the people down there will be trying to make you fall. And when you do, the far left takes over that party. No way. More importantly, Joe Biden is the war candidate, just like everyone who came before him. And surprisingly, I'm going to say it, it seems like Donald Trump may be, at least in my lifetime, the one candidate who's actually trying to stop war. That's crazy. I got to say, I didn't ask him to. I didn't even vote for the guy. And here he is trying to do it. That's huge. But I'll leave it there. I don't think anybody cares about the war stuff anymore. I think I was just being tricked for most of my life. The Democrats certainly don't care. That was a lie. And I guess these voters don't care either. Stick around, though. I got one more segment coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.